Hello and welcome back to Plumbing TV. I'm Cameron Grimes. Back in 2013, the then newly elected Abbott government scrapped the planned National Occupational Licensing Scheme. Since then, the subject has largely been forgotten about, except of course by those who worked on the committee only to see their work turn to dust. But supporters of the concept of national recognition may once again have something to crow about thanks to the federal government's Senate committee report on the effects of red tape. An interim report tabled on the 15th of August by the Senate Select Committee on Red Tape has made 4 key recommendations to government and forms the view that occupational licensing is a barrier to market entry, which prevents some people from practicing their chosen trade and should only be imposed with strong justification. The Senate committee is chaired by Senator David Leyonhjelm, with other members coming from all sides of government. Throughout the process, a number of industry stakeholders entered submissions on behalf of their sectors, including the plumbing industry. While the final report has not yet been delivered, industry is calling on the government to move forward with the proposals that assist contractors to work more freely and with reduced costs and expenses. The 4 key recommendations include that the Council for the Australian Federation, in close consultation with relevant stakeholders, renews its effort towards occupational licensing reform with a starting presumption against licensing. Subject to its retention, that occupational licensing be based on specific, measurable outcomes and the identification of best practice models for occupations throughout Australia. The expansion of automatic mutual recognition based on the objective of increasing labour force mobility. And finally, the Council for Australian Federation commissions a study into the health and safety benefits of occupational licensing to strengthen efforts towards reform. Given the history of national licensing in Australia, we strongly recommend tempering any potential excitement or relief that you may draw from this announcement. Upon reading the report, Plumbing Connection asked the folks at the Red Tape office as to what we might expect from here. The response was as follows. The Red Tape Committee's inquiry into the effect of red tape on occupational licensing is part of an overarching inquiry into the effect of red tape. As such, the committee does not intend to table a full report on occupational licensing reform. Instead, the committee intends to examine red tape policy and processes, drawing on examples from areas in which red tape continues to exist, such as occupational licensing. The committee is to present its final report on or before the 3rd of December, after which the committee will cease to exist. All we can say to that is yes, Minister. The long-serving ASFlow committee has recently scoped out what they say is an interesting new project, and it's one you've likely pondered on many a hot summer night when you just can't get to sleep. In conjunction with staff and students at TAFE South Australia's Tonsley campus, the ASFlow committee has built a testing rig to conduct several tests related to the offsets in plumbing stacks. The purpose of the testing rig is to resolve whether multiple branches using drainage principles on the uppermost floors can discharge to a stack without having detrimental effects, and whether the location or orientation of junctions in or adjacent to grading offsets to plumbing stacks have detrimental effects within the stack or connected fixture branches. Finally, Plumbing Connection was recently invited to participate in a cross-Tasman plumbing industry business event. The conference was held in Wellington and hosted by Plumbers, Gas Fitters and Drain Layers Board of New Zealand and in conjunction with the Australian Plumbing Product Industry Group. Although the New Zealand market doesn't exactly mirror Australia's plumbing legislation, it does share many similarities. What was most interesting was the announcement by the Chief Executive of the Plumbers Board, Martin Sawyers, that his organisation is creating a plumbing apprentice program for Mandarin-speaking residents. Why Mandarin, you ask? Well, by 2050, more than 50% of the population of Auckland will come from a Chinese background, and a version of Mandarin is spoken by an estimated 70% of the Chinese population. So we should credit New Zealand for thinking well ahead on this occasion. Well, that's it for this episode, but I will be back in a month with all the latest news from the industry. In the meantime, be sure to check out our website for regular updates and like us on Facebook, Twitter and LinkedIn. Until next time, I'm Cameron Grimes.